Ayan, hola, hola, buenos dias. Joining you live naman from Barcelona. Although, of course, admittedly, Madridista tayo. Medyo Real Madrid naman talaga tayo. At hindi ko sinasabi yun dahil nag-champion ng Real Madrid sa Champions League ngayon. Ever since talaga, guys, fan talaga tayo ng Real Madrid from El Galactico days onwards. Even yung mga times na mas malakas ang Barcelona, wala, Madrid pa rin kami. So, but nevertheless, Barcelona is a beautiful city. It's really a city that I suggest you guys to visit. The people here are very warm and I tried to get my way all the way to Hotel Canina, almost speaking as much Spanish as I can. I ask about, the number of tourists, kung bumaba dito. And then funnily, I ask if dahil sa Olympics sa Paris ay bumaba ng number ng mga turista this year and very emphatically, no, of course not, of course not. Parang hindi na matanggap na baka may competition sila sa Paris ngayon. Obviously, guys, things have been crazy. Past 24 hours, kanina, ang gulo din sa airport. Nakikita ko din sa mukha natin, sobrang pagod din tayo. Halos konti lang tulog natin in the past 48 hours. Let me say, first of all, from the deepest recesses of my heart, thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Talagang karinyong-karinyo itong pinsan natin na si Sir, si Chef, now restaurateur, businessman na si Marco Conde. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much, cousin. Of course, dun sa kanyang mujer, na si Alina, dun sa kanyang lovely na daughter, si Julia. Thank you so much for the fantastic time. Thank you so much also dun sa mga ibang mga kasama natin. Shoutout naman dyan kay Tita Jane, of course, our Manchester English Española, Amiga in the house, Sir JP, Vanessa, Sir Sammy naman, dun sa supermarket ng Maharlika sa katabi. Oh, walang kinalaman nito Maharlika nito sa sa Buljak. May mga nag-comment kanina. Oh, kaka-post lang sa YouTube, sir. Mamaya ipo-post ko rin sa Facebook. Sorry talaga, ang dami natin ginawa. Halos wala tayong tulog. Thank you so much also dun sa pinsan natin kahit almost 16 hours a day yung kanyang trabaho. He made sure na maagang maaga kahapon pupunta kami sa Old Town sa Ibiza, which I really suggest you guys to check if you're gonna come around kasi again, I know papagalitan ako ng mga mga taga Ibiza or something, but guys, forget about Greece, okay? Forget about going to, kasi alam ko akala ng tao pag Ibiza party ganun. I'll tell you what, guys, three times ako nag-Ibiza, not even one night have I been to any of the parties, and although of course I'm a big fan of Black Coffee. Kaso si Black Coffee kasi concert niya ay events na every night to night, no? So Saturdays, wala na ako, Barcelona na tayo. Uh, but nevertheless, the thing with Ibiza is that everyone thinks about the party, the beach, but everything. But ako sa isa sa mga paborito kong parts, guys, ay itong mga yung mga old quarters nila. Very, very gorgeous Mediterranean guy. Gorgeous Mediterranean. Again, shout out also dun sa pinsan natin na si Marco for making an effort. Alam ko, pagod na pagod yan. Nag-effort pa rin yan. Thankfully, yung traffic is not as bad there sa Ibiza. But you see, guys, parang forget about Santorini, guys. This is the kind of beautiful places you're gonna see. See? Gorgeous, guys. Gorgeous, gorgeous, guys. Of course, obviously, hindi ko po pinapost all the time lahat ng mga pinupuntahan natin para hindi mag-feeling vlogger. Tsaka nakita niyo naman yung mga videos na pinopost natin. I try to put some philosophy there. I try to put some voice over there. Yung mga long form na iba, I just posted so far yung mga walkthrough version na minimal edit. But hopefully, we can later on come up with something as soon as I get some time and rest. Speaking of rest, medyo mahirap mag-rest mga kameta. Parating ng SONA. And kakatapos lang yung Republican National Congress. Ang gulo sa US with Biden. So I'm getting all of these questions from international media, what we think about what many assume as the more likely scenario, which is Donald Trump becoming the next president of the United States. Again, nothing is final. It's very possible that Kamala Harris, ngayon si Buttigieg, medyo pong position na rin. May mga nagpo-position na, alam na natin yung mga moves na yan. But as if you look at the bookies, they put the bet so far on Trump unless something major happens on the part of Democrats. Major good meaning on the part of Democrats. So we were doing all of these interviews about that, about Trump, about Asia, about other things. Kaya, pasensya na lang sa mga pinsan natin if I cannot be, fully in the vacation mode because, this is my job, this is my life. I'm super thankful and privileged na meron tayong itong mga platforms. I can go all around the world. I get invitations from institutions all around the world. I get to meet world leaders. I get to meet our ambassadors, our great ambassador, of course, Ambassador Malaya. We had fantastic discussion. I posted that, great scholars all around the world. And of course, on the sides of my time, of course, dropping by also our family. Dito, I mean, ako, honestly, I go to Ibiza for family time and relaxation because if it's really the beaches, let's be honest, mas maganda ang mga beaches sa Pilipinas, right? The best in the world, right? If it's partying, well, like, you can go to Bangkok or whatever, right? So, anyway, going back to this, guys. Pag-usapan natin ng konti, okay? Pag-usapan na ng konti. Um, RD, magkakalat ka na naman, okay? And mais kayo, guys. I'm making all the effort kayo. Pagod na ako. I'm doing these things every night, almost regularly, guys. Okay? You don't find this thing. And this is water, guys. Okay? Agua, agua, agua. No, let's talk about this because if you look at the latest Pulse Asia survey, so kanina medyo late tayo nag-start, pasensya na dun sa mga ka-livers natin sa YouTube and uy, TikTok, meron na kayong advisory board tapos ang TikTok kumuha ng mga mighty magulang, yung mga ganyan, but I don't want to say that they're whitewashing it. I like what? They're like woke washing it or something like that because Mighty Magulang and all are fantastic people, great historian and all. But TikTok has an issue, okay? I experienced many times what I truly believe as censorship. Na-experience din na marami ibang tao dyan and all. That there's really censorship, weird stuff happening on my TikTok. That's why I'll be honest, I'm not an idiot. I don't put my TikTok on my main phones. It's my burner phone, okay? Naghanap pa ako dun sa Green Hills ng third hand phone para ilagay dyan. But okay naman yung camera, guys, diba? Anyway, going back to this. Hello din sa mga ka-TikTokers natin. Parang wala nang filter. Ba't ang pangit ko dyan? Okay lang? Okay lang yan. Sige, kahit pangit tayo. Basta makinig kayo sa akin, ha? Pag-usapan natin ito. Ito, guys. Parang for the first time, mas pangit pa ako sa TikTok kaysa iba. Siguro talaga may galit talaga itong TikTok mo to sa akin. Um, no, so there are a couple of things we have to talk about, guys. Una-una, napakamahalaga ito, guys. Dahil parating na ang SONA, and I think Marcos Jr. is finding himself in a very weird situation. Alright? Di ba na walang filter, oh? Bakit kaya? Di, parang nakakatuwa. Wala ka tayong filter dun sa iba. Para mas okay naman tayo. Para lalo tayong pumangit pa. Mas pangit pa ako dito sa ano. Lagyan natin ng... Aba. Ano to? Yan natin. Sige, lagyan natin. Tingnan natin. Wala. Hindi, honestly guys. Mas pangit ako dyan kaysa dito mga to. But anyway, talagang galit na galit ng TikTok sa akin. At tinanggal na talaga yung, ayan, alarm clock ko. I was supposed to actually rest a bit, power nap. Sabi ko, di ko na kaya, kaya tapusin ko na to. Hirap din kasing types. Anyway, bago kayo magalit sa akin, guys, simulan na natin ito. Let's get the ball rolling. Okay, so, there's good news, there's bad news, and then there's ambivalence here. Okay, the good, the bad, and the potentially ugly. Right? Pag-usapan natin lahat yan. Now, again, just to be clear, dun sa mga henyo natin kasama na ka-DDS, okay, maya naman kayo sa balat nyo na aawain nyo ako about Marcos, okay? Just because I'm Ilocano and just because I come from Solid North. Oh, shoutout naman kay Cousin Marco. The best ka talaga, brother. The best ka talaga, brother. No, alam din ni Cousin Marco, talagang paras kayo may bugs ngayon. Talagang the best yan itong cousin natin. Talagang 24/7 talagang inalagaan tayo. Kaya tuwan-tuwang mami natin. Anyways, going back to this, guys. May mga DDS siya nagsabi, oh, Richard, ngayon, ang bait mo na kay BBM, ganyan. Kaya kasi Solid North kaya, kasi ganyan. Tapos yung iba, mas mga katangan pang sinasabi. Wait, huwag natin kalimutan, sino ang unit team? Alright, sino nagpanalo kay BBM? Ang nagpanalo kay BBM, of course, mga loyalista. O, kasama dyan si ano. Kasama din dyan, guys. Kayo, mga DDS ang nagpanalo dyan, alright? So, please lang, stop your nonsense about, yeah. As I said, I've already expressed a lot of my concerns, whether it's about historical revisionism or actually distortionism, gulo na here natin, whether it's fighting with corruption or not fighting with corruption enough, whether it is, making sure na ito mga fugitives na si Alice Go, na si Kiboloy, well, Alice Go, latest na, Pantag, Teves, ang dami na nila. Tsaka yung pumatay kay Percy Lapid. Gusto natin magkaroon ng hustisya dyan. So there's a long list of issues I can raise there, di ba? And of course, you can check all of these interviews and discussions natin all across the different platforms, including, of course, with yung RRM natin, RL natin, lahat yan. So I think if ginagamit niyo yung utak niyo, alright? And if you're just not being hater, ma-realize niyo kung DDS ka, wala kang karapatan magreklamo about BBM kasi kayong tumulong na magpanalo sa kanila. At pangalawa, makatulad ko na criticals through and through sa lahat ng mga different administration. Whether it's Pinoy, kakulangan nila sa inclusive development, kakapalpakan dun sa mga sapano. Whether it's Digong sa daming ng kapalpakan, I don't know where to go. Whether sa BBM na nakakapos ako sa industrial strategy, nakakapos ako sa anti-corruption, we can talk about all of those things, guys. But going back to this issue of Marcos ahead of Sona, the not so good news for Marcos is this, guys. Yung latest na lumabas na Pulse Asia survey, all right, puts Sara Duterte as the most popular, okay, as the most popular elected leader. This is not the first time that she has been the most popular elected leader, but medyo lumaki ang agwat from the past. May mga times na medyo lumapit yung numbers nila. Nabati si Sara nag-suffer din ng double-digit decreases na more in the 60s territory rather than 80s or 90s territory. Now, medyo malaki na yung agwat nila. Double-digit na yung agwat nila. But more surprisingly, Sara is keeping those numbers even if nag-resign na siya sa Department of Education. Although I have to double check the exact date. I think covered na nung covered na yung resignation niya or pag-cover na yung resignation ni Sara Duterte dito sa latest na survey ng Pulse Asia. I'm just having an issue with internet here. I'm trying to bring this out, guys. 1 second lang para makita niyo yung survey dito. So I just want to try to pull out the survey para makita niyo rin dito sa phone na to. Pasensya na, hindi ko dala yung isang laptop ko na professional kasi doon ako nag-edit and all of that Okay, so ito yung latest ng Ulat ng Bayan covering from June 17 to 24. So last time I checked, Sara resigned from DepEd. Dapat covered to, di ba? Right. 19. June 19 nag-resign si Sara Duterte sa DepEd. This survey covers June 17 to 24. So kasama yung speech ni Sara Duterte at kasama yung resignation niya. Now, if you look at the numbers here, it's quite interesting. So dito sa Pulse Asia server, again, covering June 17 to 24, which is andyan na kasama na si Sara. So parang umakyat pa yung number niya after nag-resign siya. Ferdinand Marcos, obviously 100% awareness. Sara Duterte, 100% awareness. Romualdez, interestingly, doesn't have 100% awareness. So may mga kababayan tayo na somewhere between 87% to 97% lang may awareness sa kanya. So ganito. So obviously ang baba nung approval rating ni Speaker of the House Romualdez, only 35% ang approval niya. Ang disapproval niya is also the highest. So lowest yung approval niya, disapproval niya is highest. And then ang laki ng undecided, 45%. So if there's one elected leader who has the most room for improvement or even worse, it's Romualdez. So he has to improve his awareness. He has to get the undecided people on his side. Pero ang laki ng disapproval niya. So if you minus his approval from disapproval, it's only plus 14. Net plus 14. BBM naman, approval niya is 53%. O yan, kasama yung cousin natin dyan. Solid north yan. Ang disapproval niya is 19%. Medyo malaki. And then, ang laki din ng undecided kay Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at 29%. So, almost a third of ating mga kababayan ay ambivalent, to put it mildly, about BBM. So, probably kasama sa 29% yan is, what? 26, 25, 24% na nabumoto kay Lenny na ayos sa mga Dutertes pero not necessarily ay masyadong sold on Marcos, but they're not disapproving Marcos entirely because marami siguro sa mga supporters din ni Lenny na realize nila he didn't turn out as bad. He's not another Marcos dictatorship. And in fairness naman, at least, he's not, doing the antics that we saw under Duterte. And most importantly, on the West Philippine Sea issue, he's doing the right thing. So, ang laki din ng undecided. Almost a third of Filipinos are undecided about how they feel about Marcos. Approval ba or not? Pero ang laki pa rin ng disapproval niya at 19%. Now, this is where things get very interesting, mga kamets. And I want to contrast this with another survey whereby actually it looks good for BBM. But before going to that survey, if you look at Sara Duterte, she has a 16 points margin. Ang laki nito, guys. So if you plus 3-5 with, she almost has a 20-point margin. So if Ferdinand Marcos is just approval at 53%, and his net is really, really low, minus almost 20%, right? So 34 plus 34 lang yung kanyang net approval rating. Sara Duterte has a 69% approval rating. Her disapproval is only 9%. And her largest number of undecided is only 22%. So if you look at it here, guys, si Sara Duterte has a net plus 60 approval rating, right? Which is almost twice the net approval rating of Marcos Jr. and more than 3 times, actually more than 4 or 5 times the net approval ratings. Yeah, almost 5 times, right? So 4.5 times the net approval ratings of Martin Romualdez. So if you were to think that Sara Duterte is finished, tapos na, wala na. And by the way, of course, I also cheekily say that in my own, in my own vlogs and all of that. You look at the survey and you realize actually it would be foolish for anyone to dismiss Sara Duterte, right? As in, finish na siya, tapos na siya, laos na siya. Now, none of this means na maayos siya. We can have big debates about, actually, debate, I mean, honestly, ano bang record niya, ano bang achievement niya as DepEd Secretary, right? Puro naman mga kulelat naman yung mga international rankings natin. I'm not sure any important developments has happened. Now, of course, you can say some of these rankings are sa panon pa ng tatay niya. Remember, the former DepEd Secretary was appointed by her dad, so responsibility ng ibang Duterte yan. But nevertheless, I'm not very sure I've seen any data to show that Sara Duterte has significantly improved our education standards in the 2 years or so she had there, with all the resources and everything. All right. We can also have a lot of discussion about, she have the wit? Does she have the eloquence? Does she have the at least a projection of the competence and all of that, or mastery of an issue that we expect from someone who is positioning herself as a presidential, but or at the very least is the number 1, 2 sa ating bansa, diba? So we can have objective discussion here, but the reality is, subjectively looking at this issue, Sara Duterte has almost twice plus net approval rating than BBM, and more than 4 times plus net approval rating of Martin Romualdez, right? I won't be surprised that the huge number of disapproval of Martin Romualdez, which, by the way, is almost identical. So 19% for Marcos Jr., 21% for Romualdez. Probably these are similar people. These are similar people na DDS talaga, na sobrang solidly behind Duterte's. So siguro this is where a lot of the disapproval is coming, right? Now, again, of course, it's not exclusive because there are also many quote-unquote dilaw or opposition na ayaw rin na kay BBM. Ang tawag ko sa kanila mga never Marcos. Given na yan. But that's an interesting thing. Now, but I have a different way of also looking at this issue. Now, this is not just about raw popularity na benta mga Marcoses, benta mga Duterte. Kasi I'll discuss that later on in separate survey that we discussed early this year when I was in Berkeley with Leloy. I raised this issue, and also when I interviewed the Okta president, si Ranjit Wright, pinag-usapan natin. Balikan ko yan later on. But let me also look at this. This is very interesting. So if you look at it, the area where bugbog sarado si BBM, all right, bugbog sarado si BBM in terms of approval rating is Mindanao. So then again, it's very hard, guys, for me to dismiss yung backlash kay BBM. So in Mindanao, 38% lang ang ang approval rating ni Marcos, which is way lower than his average. So his highest average, interestingly, guys, is in NCR, National Capital Region. So sa NCR, ang pinakamataas approval rating ni Marcos Jr. Luzon, Balance Luzon, Calabarzon, etc. is at 57%. Visayas almost the same at 56%. But Mindanao, he's only at 38%. And then if you look at it, you break it down by class, all right, 53% sa Class D, which is around 60% of our population. This is the so-called masa. Almost the same statistically, 49% ABC. And then almost statistically the same 52%. So actually, statistically speaking, almost the same yung spread niya between A, B, C, D, and E. But geographically, siguro dahil sa marami rin sa ating mga kabayan na underprivileged ay galing din siguro sa Mindanao dahil na of course sa underdevelopment, at agree naman talaga ako sa mga kabayan na sa Mindanao na pinabayaan talaga sila. Ang disagreement ko lang is I'm not sure federalism would help because isa sa pinakamalaking problema at isa sa mga ugat ng problema sa underdevelopment ng Mindanao ay hindi lang yung giyera na sinimulan ni Marcos Sr. ng panahon na yan, hindi lang yung mga kapalpakan at shortcomings of Imperial Manila, but also yung corruption, also yung kapalpakan ng mga local leaders dyan sa Mindanao. Huwag na tayo magpangalan, but I think we all know what's the reality there. The warlordism, dynastic politics. Of course, hindi lahat. Hindi natin lahat. But we have a lot of problematic warlords and all of that there in Mindanao who are holding back also the region. So they have to also blame their own leaders. Hindi lang Manila all the time. At hindi sila dapat mapapadala dun sa mga ibang trapos na taga Mindanao na lahat na lang gusto na lang isisisi sa Manila. As I said, may kasalanan Manila, pero kung nagmamalinis yung mga ibang warlords sa Mindanao, I'm not sure about that. Okay? Anyway, so clearly dito guys, it's the Mindanao numbers that are really bringing down BBM ng big time. 38%. So had BBM had similar numbers in Mindanao, his overall approval rating would have been close to 60%, which would be statistically more or less tied with Sara Duterte. Si Romualdez also, if you look at it, interesting. So it's very hard for me to separate this from away ni, the whole Tambalos-Los debate and away ni Sara at Martin Romualdez. Martin Romualdez has only 25% approval rating in Mindanao. In fact, some part of me is surprised he has 25% pa at least, diba? He's 59% in Visayas, which is his highest considering he's a Romualdez and he comes from the Visayan region. So that makes sense. So you can see a clear element of regionalism here. Romualdez coming from Visayas has his highest number by far, almost 60%. In fact, Romualdez has higher approval rating in Visayas than BBM, who is also Romualdez, by the way, but of course primarily from the north, right? And his Luzon is also very down at 29%. His NCR is decent at 36%. So, ang Mindanao din niya, ang sobrang baba. Only 25%. So, only 1 in 4 people in Mindanao have a positive view of Martin Romualdez, which makes it very hard for me to say na walang kinalaman din ito dun sa away nila ni Sara Duterte. No? So, he's clearly paying some price. Now, as a Speaker of the House, as a congressman, pwede sabi niya, pakiko, di ba? But if he wants to run for Senate, he wants to run for some higher office, medyo mahirapan siya if his numbers are this low, especially in Mindanao, right? Interestingly, though, if you look at Martin Romualdez, his best numbers are among the poorest of poor Filipinos. At E, Class E, rural poor, among others. Siguro marami rin dito galing sa Visayas. E, 41%. Yun yung highest na nakuha niyang rating. So, geographically at Visayas, 59% Romualdez. In terms of socioeconomic class, 41% Class E. But that 41% doesn't reflect too much on his overall number because E is a much smaller proportion of our population, around 20-25%, compared to Class D, which is around 60% of our voting population. Now, let's go to Sara Duterte, and this is where things get very, very interesting, guys. Sara Duterte, her overall rating is almost 70%. NCR, she's actually even higher than BBM at 64%. Luzon, she's not so high. She's lower than BBM at 54%. But my goodness, this is where you see the Vismin vote base ng mga Dutertes and Sara Duterte. She's at 80% in Visayas and 95%. Remember, this 95% has a margin of error 3.5. So it ranges between 90-92% all the way to potentially 100% approval ratings in Mindanao. So that is really pushing up her numbers. And again, if you look at the socioeconomic class when she has the most support, she has more support than BBM among ABC. More or less tayo yan, mga middle class, mga C, mga B at most. Kasi, may mga A din naman nakikinig sa atin. Alam ko naman. But what I'm saying is that, we middle class, ordinary Filipinos, diba? 69% among MASA, Class D, and then 82% E. So siguro a lot of rural poor, a lot of them also come from Visayas and Mindanao because of underdevelopment of Visayas and Mindanao, which also kasalanan ng Manila yan. I don't disagree with that. May kasalanan talaga Manila. But I think, folks from those regions should also look at their own trapos and dynasties and how those folks are, I mean, hindi natin kailangan magpangalan ng people, but we know a lot of politicians from poorest regions of the country, from the south, from Visayas, and then tignan mo yung mga bahay nila, so sobrang magarang, pinapaaral yung anak nila sa abroad, saan sila kumuha ng pera na yan? Of course, magarang lahat yan. Alright. I'm just saying, of course, some of them really have legit business and got to politics, but there are a lot of them who are also connect the dots. So again here guys, you can clearly see ang lakas ng Vismin base ni Sara Duterte, right? So if you average her Visayas and Mindanao numbers, it's around 70-75%, way higher than BBM, all right? And this is really the strength of the Dutertes. And as I said, if it comes to the next elections, this is going to be the locomotive of a Duterte campaign for presidency in 2028. Iko-connect ko yan sa SONA because this SONA is going to be potentially his most important SONA because it sets the tone for the latter part of his administration, but also sets the tone for the inevitable ultimate showdown between Marcoses and Dutertes, or whoever is against Duterte and whoever is with the Dutertes, essentially, right? So actually, if you look at BBM, and this again provides some clues for us, he had a plus 14 increase from the previous quarter of in March 24, first quarter. From Q1, his number actually went down by 2%. In NCR, he had a 14 points increase, but he had a 9-point decrease in Luzon. He had a negative 2 points decrease in Mindanao. So he shed another 2 points. Interestingly, although in NCR, which is the most developed part of the country, plus 14% yung overall number niya, among ABC in general, he had a negative 13%. He had a negative 3% among Masa. But he actually gained among the poorest of poor Filipinos, at plus 4%. Now, this is where things get interesting because if you look at Sara Duterte, she got a 12% plus in NCR, she got a 16% plus in Visayas region, and 3% plus in Mindanao, where she's almost, polling at 100%. So there has been a huge jump and rallying behind her in Visayas. So probably, again, this is speculative, but siguro yung pagka-resign niya at medyo parang mukha siya naging biktima at power effect or whatever, however you want to put it, medyo gumana siya in a sense na, well, given na yung Mindanao, almost 100%. Pero sa Visayas, also, she saw a plus 16% increase. Also, among the poorest of poor Filipinos, she saw a plus 17-point increase. So, in many ways, her resignation, actually, right, her resignation seemed to have helped her, at least in the meantime. Now, that was the approval rating. In terms of overall trust ratings, she's actually even higher at 71%. Only 8% distrust her. That's interesting. That's interesting. So all the 20 plus percent na, this is really interesting, huh? Only 8% disapprove of Sara Duterte. Which is a weird number considering ang daming kilala ko naggalit sa kanya na BBMers or loyalists. And considering ang dami rin ayaw sa kanila ng mga dilawan or mga pinks. So 8% lang disapproval niya. I don't know, guys. But si BBM has a 21% no trust. Okay, sorry, no trust, hindi disapproval, no trust. And Martin Romualdez 23%. I find that interesting. I really find that very interesting. In fairness, by the way, si Fashion, si Boy Fashion, si Jesus Cadero, mataas din approval niya. Statistically tied siya with Sara at 69%. He only has a 5% disapproval. Okay yan. Gets ko na. Pero Sara only having 8% of disapproval rating. Considering daming galit sa kanya ng mga loyalista tsaka dilawan or in pink, I just find that interesting. I just really find that interesting. Now, remember previously we discussed, guys, yung survey about performance ng administration. Alright. We talked about the performance of the administration on some key issues. Alright. So if you look at the key issues, this is where I think it also explains bakit BBM is struggling and Sara is not struggling at all, right? Okay, we have to connect these surveys, right? Because in fairness to Pulse Asia, we can have all debates about, survey here, survey there. But in fairness to them, I think very helpful when you put together the data and interpret it. Of course, you have to interpret the data. The data doesn't speak for itself. So I don't agree with some, yung mga feeling. The numbers speak for themselves. Like, not really. You have to put them into context, right? Diba? I mean, hello. Kaya nga kailangan mo ng qualitative analysis. Even quantitative analysis is not just numbers. It comes with analysis of the numbers. Kaya nga quantitative analysis. Even putting aside ang kahalagaan ng qualitative analysis. Now, remember guys, nung tinanong ng mga kababayan natin, ukol dun sa kanilang pagsusuri at saka pag-intindi, dun sa kakayahan ng gobyerno na rumisponde, dun sa mga malalaking issue na pinaka-urgent sa kanila, kitang-kita natin mga kameta dito, di ba? Kitang-kita natin ang baba ng approval ng administration, gobyerno in fact, um, on the most urgent issues. So the most urgent issues are inflation, poverty, wages, job creation, and then medyo ganun, corruption. And on all of these issues, hindi magandang numbers ng gobyerno, 'di ba? -9% sa addressing the involuntary hunger, -15% increasing the pay of workers, -15% fighting graft corruption government, -34% reducing the poverty of many Filipinos, -71%. -71% sa controlling inflation. So, I think it makes sense why Sarah's number will actually increase if she's out of government, right? Genius. Because if she's out of government, the more she can claim na wala akong alam dyan. O may problema kayo sa economy. Unang-una, DepEd Secretary ako. Hindi naman ako, hindi naman ako NEDA Secretary or Department of Finance Secretary, right? DepEd ako. At pwede niyo sabihin ngayon, hindi nga ako sa gobyerno at all. So kung may problema sa gobyerno, vice-presidente ako maging boses nyo. Ako yung boses ng bayan. Ako yung mga boses ng opposition. So, yun yung magiging positioning ni Sara Duterte. Or potentially, yun yung pwedeng tingin sa kanya ng ibang tao na siya yung maging boses, 'di ba? Ng opposition. Or at the very least, guys, Sara not being part of his administration and Sara never having the primary cabinet position that dealt with the most urgent issues actually helped her, right? Because if the most urgent issues for people is inflation, poverty, wages, walang kinalaman ng DepEd to begin with. And now na wala sa gobyerno at all si Sara Duterte, the more she can claim na you cannot blame it on her. Now, it's the complete opposite situation for BBM because BBM is the president. Of course, sa surveys na yan, I'm not sure how many people, to be honest, kilala nila yung NEDA secretary natin, Sir Balisacan na napakagaling. DOF secretary natin si Recto, okay, so maybe siguro kilala. But at the end of the day, guys, the buck stops with the president. And literally, pag ang issue dito is buck, money, or gut, ang sisisihin talaga dito yung administration. And the administration is primarily here, BBM. So BBM is getting the backlash from the people on the economic issues. And naturally, dahil hindi kasama sa gobyerno si Sara ngayon, and dati, hindi naman siya kasama sa mga key departments katulad ng Department of Finance or NEDA, ganyan-ganyan. So, she always had this plausible deniability. She could always say, kung may problema sa gobyerno, hindi ko naman kasalanan yan. Right? And now, talaga hindi ako kasama sa gobyerno. And increasingly, of course, pumuposition si Sara as the voice of the opposition. Right? Or at least, yun yung positioning niya. So, she has plausible deniability and in fact, she can also act as a critic of the administration. In a weird way, echoing what Lenny was doing back in the day. Except back then, sobrang popular yung presidente kumpara sa ngayon. Now, of course, BBM having more than 50% approval rating is still going to be an envy for the Bidens and of Schultz and for any leader in a major country. Pero pagdating sa Pilipinas, just having over 50% approval rating and yung galing sa karibal na pamilya, na dynasty, na medyo kalaban na ngayon, na number two, breaths away from the presidency, na almost 15% or with margin of error up to 20%, at least double digit yung lamang niya sa'yo, that's not a good news. That's not a good news heading into SONA. So, ang laki ng pressure on BBM to really deliver something special in this SONA and let that be kind of essentially yun yung parang springboard niya to launch a kind of a new approach to governance whereby he can really improve his numbers. He can really improve his numbers because I'm not just hearing anything convincing or anything palliative or anything galing sa gobyerno na pwede mag-reassure dun sa mga kaubayan natin na bubugsarado na sa inflation. Because totoo na yung inflation ay nag-slow down. Pero when we say inflation slows down, doesn't mean the prices go down. It just means the increase in prices is slowing down. So, tumataas pa rin yung presyo ng mga bilihin. At tumaas na siya last year. At tumaas din siya nung isang year. So, tuloy-tuloy yung medyo mataas. Again, thank God we're not inflation Turkiya, inflation, Argentina way. But considering ang dami sa ating mga kaubayan na mahihirap, I mean, just to tell you how poor the Philippines is, interesting. Interesting yan kasi we're supposed to become an upper middle income country. But just to tell you how unequal wealth distribution is in the Philippines, a new study came out that said that kung meron kang, I think, 2.8 million pesos sa bank or cash on hand, you are part of the 1% in the Philippines, meaning you're richer than 99% of the Filipinos. And that minimum required for the Philippines was one-third of Vietnam. So in Vietnam, for you to be in top 1%, you need more than 3 times the wealth you need in the Philippines. Now, this is weird because Vietnam's per capita income is just barely 10 to 15% more than the Philippines. So that just tells you how concentrated wealth is in the Philippines and how vast majority of Filipinos are very close to the poverty line. Very close to the poverty line. So, ilan lang million mo, you're already better off than 99% of Filipinos. That just tells you gaano ka-concentrated yung wealth sa ilang tao. And for me, alam naman natin yung mga iba dyan sa atin na may mga few million here and there. Wala yan. Actually, much of our wealth, right? According to the World Bank, in 2011, and I don't think things are looking much better now because not much has changed with our economy. In 2011, only 40 families in the Philippines, kinain nila 4%, more than 4% sa 6% growth natin. 3/4 of our entire growth just went to 40 families. So, yung 0.0000001% ng population natin ay halos nakukuha nila yung lahat. So, ganyan kasabog yung ekonomiya sa Pilipinas. So, pag sinasabi ng iba, ay, ang solution lang dyan, hindi tayo maging corrupt. Well, actually, total corruption in the Philippines is less than 1 trillion pesos. But wealth inequality for me is a bigger problem in a sense that, of course, we have to fight against corruption. And anyone who knows about development will know that actually as countries become more developed, more middle class, corruption goes down because there's more scrutiny, incomes are better, there's more institutionalized, scrutiny and anti-corruption, courts become cleaner. But given na yan, but we know the reason why. Isa sa mga dahilan na sobrang daming mahirap sa ating bayan. Na ilan lang million mo, you're already better off than 99 million. Ilan ba sa kababayan natin wala man lang bank account? Nahirapan mag-set up ng bank account kasi hindi nila ma-maintain yung minimum required amount. First, para magbukas ng account, and then pangalawa, to maintain that account. Di ba parang may kailangan mo pa ng 250 pesos, 300 pesos sa ATM mo para hindi siya Alam ko yan kasi may time na nasara yung bank account ko kasi kahit 200 pesos wala siyang laman, di ba? Alam mo na mga estudyante days, mga ganon, di ba? And even after estudyante, there was time na sobrang, medyo gipit din ako na kahit hindi ko na mapalit. Anyway, let's not go there. Madrama na yan. But, yeah, I work so hard. I mean, this is my way of making sure, di ba? Very, very, it's not just the Ilocano in me. Nakaka-traumatize, guys, yung ganyan situation. Yung wala ka man lang minimum to maintain your account, ATM account, nakaka-traumatize yan. Hindi lang humiliating, is traumatizing. So, it's because halos lahat ng growth sa Pilipinas galing saan? Real estate, mall, yung mga big infrastructure projects na ilang oligarchs lang kumukuha. Wala naman tayong mga big manufacturing, wala naman tayong maayos na agrikultura. So, Philippines is growing very fast. Philippines creating a lot of new wealth, but a lot of that just goes to 0.001 of population. So, Anong connection sa sinasabi ko? Ang connection sa sinasabi ko ay simple lang. Even if the inflation goes up by 15 or 20%, bugbog sarado. Halos kalahatan ng ating mga kababayan dahil already close to the poverty line na po sila. Kaya napakamahalagang inflation issue sa Pilipinas. Even if my contention always is, ang mas mahalaga dito is real wages. Dapat iakyat yung mga sweldo ng mga ating mga kababayan. Siguro naman, yung mga ibang oligarchs, hindi na kailangan na, di ba? Sana naman medyo mas maayos yung bumababa na sweldo. Sana naman medyo nagre-regularize yung ibang oligarchs yan na hindi lang nire-rehire after every few months para walang, alam niyo na yung mga kalakaran ng iba dyan, di ba? Hindi naman naging bilyonary yung iba dyan dahil magaling sila mag-isip or nag-innovate sila. Naging billionaire lang sila dahil sa exploitative labor practices. Yung iba land grabbing, yung iba land grabbing, exploitative practices, and may iba pang. Alam mo na this, 'di ba? So, that's why nasasaktan mga kabayan. And then, yung wage increase, hindi masyadong nangyari. Go to the, alam niyo na ano mga malls yan or something. Kausapin niyo yung mga sales lady. Kausapin mo yung security guard. Sir, gaano ka umakyat yung sweldo mo in the past 2 years? And then, i-calculate mo yung inflation over the past 2 years. Ngayon, i-calculate mo yung kanyang increase in real wages, meaning yung pagtaas sa kanyang kinikita minus dun sa pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Dahil kung mas mabilis yung pag-akyat ng presyo ng mga bilihin dun sa pag-akyat sa kanyang mga sweldo, yung agwat niyan, yun yung nawala pa sa kanya. So umakyat pa nga yung sweldo niya, pero lalong umakyat yung gastos niya. So actually, net loss yun. And net loss yun kung kailan may mga bilyonaryo ka na yumaman pa ng $500 million more just the other month. $500 million more. So you times 55, $500 million. That's how big it is in the Philippines. So it's like, parang kumita siya ng easily ng 25 billion pesos. 250 billion pesos. I mean, just like that, guys. Just like that. Crazy. Right? So, I'm just telling you guys, kaya ngayong inflation, malaking political issue sa Pilipinas yan. Now, naintindihan ko yung sinasabi ng gobyerno noong 2022 na may kinalaman nito sa war in Ukraine, effect on fertilizers, effect sa oil and gas and energy and all. But you would think after 2 years, guys, may konting pag-iba nangyari, may konting pagbabago nangyari, may mga palliative measures. So, kudos to the government for keeping inflation below, I don't know, 6% or 5%. And thank God we're not Argentina na, 50% or like Turkey, like my goodness, like, but still, kasi ang dami natin mga kababayan na nasa mahirap na malapit sa poverty line. So, kahit konting inflation increase, ang laki ng epekto. Sobrang, kita naman natin guys. Kaya sabi ko, punta kayo sa mga tanin, yung mga sales ladies, mga security guards, mga kababayan natin na talagang masa na apektado. So, kung ilagay mo sila, ilagay mo sarili mo sa kanilang lugar, gets na gets mo guys. Yung lugar ko, hindi na konyo, lugar. Ginawa kong ginawa ko Espanyol, lugar. Hindi na siya lugar. No, but guys, if you put yourself in their shoes, diba? Kung nilagay mo yung sarili mo sa lugar nila, bakit ka ma-impress sa presidente? And then, yung vice-presidente mo, pwede naman sabihin na, di naman ako kasama sa gobyerno. Deped naman ako dati, wala naman akong kinalaman dyan, di ba? So actually, Sara has that plausible deniability. And precisely because when Duterte was popular and Lenny was not in the cabinet, she couldn't also enjoy from any bump in the numbers of Duterte. But I'm sure as Lenny would say, I'd rather not be part of that popularity if it's built on XYZ na hindi tugma sa ating conviction sa buhay or hindi tugma sa human rights, constitution, mahabang usapan yan. So in this sense, Sara's distance and resignation from BBM's cabinet actually has cushioned her against the relative decline in the popularity, or some would say relative unpopularity of the current president in light of the inflation issue. Again, in theory, an inflation rate of, what's our inflation rate now? Less than 6%, right? 3-4%. 3-4-5%. That's not bad. But in the Philippines, it's very bad. Dahil hindi umakyat masyadong sweldo ng mga kababayan natin. At ang dami sa ating mga kababayan ay sobrang malapit sa poverty line. So gets nyo yan? This is where what seemingly is a manageable issue is a big political issue. And this is where you see why Dutertes are doing very well. Plus yung geographic factor ng Visayas, Mindanao numbers. We keep on talking about Vismin, Vismin, Vismin. Ang lakas ni Sara pa rin sa Vismin. Now, it also explains why Sara Duterte is, at least in one survey, still statistically tied for frontrunner. And the only one who's giving her competition and has slightly ahead of her, but again, this is statistically tied because of margin of error, is Rafi Tulfo. Right? And then, mahabang usapan na yan, di ba? Pag-usapan din yung Tulfo factor. And of course, Tulfos bring their own kind of macho populism. They also have their own Zamboanga, Chabacano, Visayas, Mindanao connection. So, ibang usapan yan. Di ba? Mahabang usapan. But, do you get what I'm saying here, guys? The not so bad news, though, for BBM is, interestingly, if you look at the survey by Okta earlier this year, nung tinanong, Team BBM ba kayo or Team Marcos, mas malaki yung Marcos kaysa Duterte. Nang malayo, 'di ba? All right. Sobrang malayo, 'di ba? So, if you look at it, 31% sa ating mga kababayan, picture natin para makita niyo. Sorry, hindi ko malabas siya. Okay. 31% ng ating mga kababayan ay sinasabi na nasa Team Marcos sila. Alright? Nasa Team Marcos sila. Okay? 31%. Alright? 31% ng ating mga kababayan. Laki nun. Laki nun. Pero hindi ganun kalaki. Laki nun kumpara sa only 20% na nagsabi na pro-Duterte sila. So that's a huge difference. Right? So mas lamang ang mga pro-Marcos kaysa pro-Duterte. Alright? And siguro yung 20% na pro-Duterte, yun yung 20% plus na ayaw kay BBM, plus yung mga ibang tao na walang partisanship, plus yung mga never Marcos na opposition. So it perfectly makes sense bakit ang daming disapproval kay Marcos, almost regardless of his actual performance. Kasi we can have a long debate about how much we can blame Marcos, how much palpak, how much successful, how much ganun. But I'm just explaining to you in terms of political alignments. Because unfortunately, a lot of things in the Philippines is not only based on objective assessment of the range of possibilities and what is doable by the administration. It's also about loyalty, tribalism, etc. But at least, guys, I explained to you guys, it makes sense, the BBM seeing his numbers down, but Sara not seeing her numbers down. Because this inflation issue can blame on Marcos because he's the president, the buck stops with him, but not with Sara, who's effectively out of the government and never held any relevant portfolio. But interestingly, if it really goes down, half of the Filipinos are somewhere between Marcos and Duterte's, but 60% of that half is with Marcos's. Which, of course, is where we come in, because that means almost half of Filipinos are not with either Duterte's or the Marcoses. And that's precisely where there's a room for a third force. The Tulfos are kind of positioning themselves as a third force. The genuine opposition is kind of positioning as third force. May 0.6% dyan na pumunta kay Ronald Llamas na nagpo-position as the third force. So let's see where these things are going. But the last one I want to say here, guys, is Marcos has to bring something special to his third State of the Nation address. This is going to be his most consequential and arguably contentious State of the Nation address dahil eto na. Wala si Sara. Wala na yung mga, some would say cultural appropriation, but some would say her commendable effort at highlighting our cultural diversity. Her absence will be a big factor in a sense that it's essentially a declaration na hindi lang wala ng unit team. Kalaban na tayo, di ba? So it depends. Let's see so Marcos has two challenges. One challenge is to try to win over Filipinos. I don't know how can you do that kung gutom man tao or nahirapan to say na etong inflation problem and all, we're dealing with it and we're gonna have palliative measures. We're gonna make sure we push for increase in wages, more inclusive development. Good luck sa kanya. But he has to do that. And then pangalawa, he has to still rally support around him by saying, I'm doing the right thing on West Philippine Sea, I'm a patriot, etc. And then try to box out the Dutertes and say, ako, wala akong problema. I welcome Sara into my cabinet. I still believe in her. I'm her fan. Ibang issue na kung ayaw nila sa akin. Silang umatak sa akin, si Digong, si Bastega, ganun. So present himself as a victim and also present himself as a patriot, a statesman, and rally around me. and essentially set the tone for next year's midterm elections. That's why very, very important itong SONA. Not to mention, dahil may nagsabi na mga self-appointed designated survivor siya, mag-ingat din sila dapat, di ba? Again, this is a bad joke, but ang hirap na, di ba? I mean, namatay lang yung leader ng Vietnam kahapon. Napalitan din yung president ng isang bansa. Si Trump, kaka-assassination attempt lang niya isang araw. So, I'm just saying, we're living crazy times. So, yun lang. Ingat na lang. Thank you so much, guys, for the fantastic week and discussions we had. Pasensya na again with logistical issues. I'm just constantly on the move from different places. Our numbers went quite down this week. I don't know why. Compared to last week when I was in Amsterdam, our numbers were very good in Amsterdam. I don't know for some reason, siguro bad din yung lighting ko over the past few days, or I don't know what's going on because the same time zone, significantly down in numbers natin last week. So we hope to catch up on our average numbers para maka few million views naman tayo at least every month, no? Sa YouTube natin, and also dito sa Facebook tuloy-tuloy yung efforts natin. And also, I hope na tuloy-tuloy yung pagsuporta sa atin sa different platforms, including on TikTok, of course, Richard Haydarn 007, Feeling James Bond. And also, of course, please on Spotify, Richard Haydarn Deep Dive. On Apple Podcast, Richard Haydarn Deep Dive. Libre lang magbigay ng 5 stars. Thank you sa lahat nag-suporta sa atin. We almost have 600 ratings. Almost 5-star on Spotify. Please continue to support us because we have to keep on going so that sana makamit natin yung 1,000 ratings. And also dun sa podcast, I think Apple Podcast, I need around 50 to 100 ratings, and hopefully if you think you believe, you think we deserve 5-star rating, and please go ahead with it. And then lastly, of course, please continue to support us on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Bumaba rin ng subscription natin by 50% over the past week or so. So I don't know, is this because of my algorithm, because I've been on the move? What happened there? So please continue to support our channels and ask other people to join us. Wala namang mawawala sa yan yung nag-support kayo or nag-join kayo. Libre lang po yan. But for those who have sent stickers and stars and all, I really appreciate your support. Every good comment, every sticker, every point of inspiration matters, considering we're trying to squeeze in everything. Okay, I'm just gonna get some power nap before I go to my catching up with some colleagues and all, and then going around. I love this city. It's a fantastic city. Although I'm a Madridista, and I can really say which is a more beautiful city. It's a fantastic place. So I need to get some rest so that makaabol ako sa mga engagements natin. And then obviously I need to get proper rest tonight, and hopefully I can also get some column out for Sona natin on Monday before I head back home. God willing, inshallah. On that note, thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon. Have a lovely day. Maraming salamat po. And shout out again dun sa pinsan natin ng mga La Familia natin sa sa Ibiza, of course. At yung Gayon Pizzeria. All right, ni Chef Marco and the whole gang. Thank you very much. God bless, and talk